All right. Firstly, I want to thank Awaken Potential for this opportunity to meet you, Peter.
You're very welcome.
Good to meet you.
Pleasure.
Obviously, I've done a couple of your events previously as well in the last 5 years, the Millionaire Business School and the Elite Mentorship Forum. So I've got a good understanding of what you do and how you do it. And with Awaken Potential, doing an event next year is going to be really exciting to bring your teachings together with what we do at Keller Williams, which is obviously where I am now. I'm the operating principal of one of the big offices in Cyprus. And Keller Williams is something that is a company that brings education, personal development to the real estate sort of arena. And not many real estate companies do that. And we just want to enhance that and elaborate on that by having you bring your teachings to that and adding real value to people that are already with us, that are experienced and need a bit more of a purpose. Some other people that are just joining us now and they need a bit more direction and a bit more of a stronger route to their journey. And people that are thinking about joining us. And it's, as we know, it's all about mindset, about how we bring things together. And our culture at Keller Williams is trying to give everybody a real sort of package and rather just be about money. Let's be authentic. Let's add value. Let's have a purpose. Let's be transparent and honest with everyone that we work with. So I think with what Awaken Potential do and what you do and how Keller Williams, it's a really nice partnership to bring that together for an event. And I'm really excited about you being on board for it, to be honest.
Oh, no, outstanding. I'm excited as well. And I think you hit on some really important points there because, if we go back to kind of the 80s, kind of Gordon Gekko model where everybody's out for the money, what we tend to find is that the market has shifted significantly. And what the market is responding to now, and whether that's you running a business, whether you're a real estate agent, whether you're looking to service clients at any level, sell a product, there is one thing above all else that consumers today are looking for, and that is authenticity. They need to be able to trust. Gone are the days of you cheap marketing salespeople. Gone are the days of you kind of misdirect or what have you. And if you want to play that game, it's a fast way to go bankrupt because there's just no more tolerance from the market for people that aren't genuinely interested in how to go the extra mile for their clients. Now, what stops most people from doing that is their own fear around insecurity of not getting the deal or not closing enough business or not being on the leaderboard or whatever it may be. And so how do you solve the paradox between people that want to go after the money just because they're coming from fear or scarcity or necessity, pay their mortgage, and being able to build a lifelong level of clientele who are going to come back to you time and again. They're going to refer you to all of their friends because they know that they're not dealing business with Keller Williams, they're dealing business with you and what you stand for as a person. We are not in the business to consumer or business to business world anymore. We're in human to human. And when people get that, you can build an enormous business of residual value, of lifelong clients, of unlimited referrals, when you can clear your own stuff out of the way and work on who you are so that you can bring the best version of you to the table for the clients to say, wow, that's who I want to do business with.
That's exactly right. And what I've sort of understood more in the real estate business recently, probably over the last 4 or 5 years, it's about feeling. If you do a deal and it gives you a good feeling, it was a good deal. You've got a win-win between a buyer and a seller. They're both happy. They've both got a fair deal. You've got a fair deal. You've been paid as well. Everyone's happy. It's a good feeling. And I think that's where we need to sort of reinvent the real estate world a little bit by basing it on the feeling. Make sure there's a good feeling for everyone involved in that transaction. It's not about, as you say, leaderboard. How much money can we make? Let's make sure we get that deal done. You've got a target of this amount of deals this month. Let's just give everyone a good feeling and the money will look after itself and your targets will look after themselves. And as you say, it kind of breeds that energy to flow and the referrals will just come naturally. And I think if we can come up with some of your teachings in the modules and whatever that just really give everyone a snapshot at this event of what is available and some takeaways, that would be really, really interesting for them to have.
No, because they don't need more skills. Yeah, it doesn't take, with the greatest of respect, yes, you have to be licensed and you have to know that you're not misrepresenting. You have to be able to understand how to calculate mortgage payments and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it doesn't take a lot of skill to be able to sell a house. It takes a lot of heart to be able to sell a house. You can pull people off the streets. You don't have to go to university for 4 years to learn how to convince somebody to buy or sell a house. Yeah. Right? That's not the game. Right? So the real estate market is one example whereby throughout history, there's always going to be buyers, there's always going to be sellers. It's not going away. It's either a buyer's market or a seller's market, but there's always a market. Yeah. So if you look at things like $1 million listings as a show to point to, what makes these people be trusted enough to sell $100 million homes? And deals like that can set people up for life. Why do those people get them? Because they understand it's not about the money. They understand it's about the value that they're adding. And one of the things that we'll show people when they come spend time with us is how to reinvent your relationship to money. Look at relationships. A woman can smell a needy guy from 1,000 feet.
Yeah, for sure.
Nobody wants to be in a relationship with somebody who's needy or desperate, right? And the more that happens, the more needy and desperate they get because the less people are showing up. And it's a vicious cycle, right? And that path leads to one destination. You're a 40-year-old virgin, right? Yeah. But when it comes to money, it's the same thing. If you are desperate to get a deal, that deal isn't going to work. If you're desperate to add value so that this transaction is the most win-win transaction, you're more passionate about that, you look over your shoulder one day and think, wow, look at all that commission. So understanding what money is a foundational part that we're never taught at school. You don't get, the only place in the universe money means anything is in the mind of a human being. Nothing else keeps track. Yeah. It's unconceptual. I did an experiment with my dog one time. It went viral on social. All right, I've got a Jack Russell. His name's Archie, and his sister Bella. But Archie, I called him in one time. I says, Archie, sit down. He's a smart dog. And on this plate, I have a ribeye steak. And on this plate, I have €1,000 in cash. And I say, Archie, listen to me carefully. Do you have any idea how many ribeyes you could buy with €1,000? Yeah. You're going to be fed for the next several months, right? Choose wisely. And I put the plates down. You already know how that game ends, right? Exactly, Money didn't get a look in, ribeye gone. Because money doesn't mean anything outside of our conceptual understanding. It has no value. You got $1 million in cash, you're on a desert island and it's cold, you're going to set fire to it to stay alive, right? So when people realize that what stops most of the deals from happening is their relationship to money, the undercurrent that goes with that, that's what allows you to be inauthentic or authentic. When you can focus on value, not commission. Because a buyer can smell a needy salesperson or a needy agent from 1,000 feet, right? Yeah. But what's beneath that? It's stuff we're never taught at school. Where did you get your relationship to money? What are your beliefs around money? How do you have a prosperity consciousness versus a scarcity consciousness? How can you come from abundance rather than lack? Right? If you don't know how to navigate that, you are always going to find yourself desperate enough to chase the next deal rather than abundant enough to even turn deals down. And I'll give you a great example. One of my students, name's Tony, came to me. He was a personal trainer and he was earning $50 an hour. Now, that wasn't bad for a personal trainer. This is 2010. Yeah. But he was earning enough money to get enough cash to invest in marketing, to buy enough ads, to get enough clients, to make enough money to buy more ads. We've all been there. So he wanted to break the cycle. How do I become more wealthy as a personal trainer? Because he's got so many clients, he's now getting exhausted trying to chase $50 an hour deals. I said, why aren't you charging $500 an hour? He nearly spat out his drink. He's like, well, what do you mean? No one's paying $500 an hour for a personal trainer. I says, you're wrong. There are people that will pay $500 an hour just to boast to their friends in the country club they've got a more expensive personal trainer than they have. I says, it's not that there aren't any clients out there. It's that you're currently broadcasting on radio $50 an hour and wondering why the only people you attract are the songs that are play on that radio. Yeah. See, the people that listen to $500 an hour aren't tuned into your station. You're never going to hear their song. So let's work on you rather than try to get more clients.
Yeah.
And what happened? Well, we worked on his self-belief, his sense of self-worth, the intangible stuff. We worked on his ability to add value to his clients in a way that came from the heart, not a playbook. And a year later, he's charging $250 an hour. He's fired half of his clients. We carried on working. A year later, he's making $500 an hour. He's got the owner of the equivalent of Google China, TikTok, which is a Chinese company, right? He's got the Chinese ambassador, right? The US Chinese ambassador. He's got all of these clients paying him $500 an hour and loving it. And he's focused on just going that extra mile. He shows up at their door with a birthday present for their 10-year-old kid because he'd listened when they were having a conversation in the kitchen. There's not that many ways to 10x your workout, right? There's only so many ways you can use a press-up machine or a treadmill, right? There's not some secret formula that's suddenly worth $500 an hour. No, it was the extra mile he was going because he wanted to add value and make their experience great. He'd called them on their bullshit. He wouldn't listen to their excuses. He would go behind it to encourage them to become the better version of themselves. All stuff, same hour, but they're happy to pay the $500 because he was more committed to them. Fast forward. The day that I knew he owned his own worth, he started doing seminars for corporations to get their workforce healthy. He figured out that sickness costs the average CEO X $1,000 a year. And if your workforce are more healthy or they've got more vibrancy or they don't crash after coffee at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and after the lunch, you're paying 40 hours a week, you're getting 20 hours a week of value and 20 hours a week of brain fog. What would happen if you just got your clients to be a little bit more energized? And he explained that to the CEO. Let me come in and give you a seminar, $10,000 to help educate your clients on how to be better and healthier at work. So 4 hours for $10,000, right? And he was charging that amount of money. I mean, his life totally changed. He became the richest celebrity trainer in China, right? It was, this was in China. Millionaire from $50 an hour struggling, by the way. It's over a period of 2 or 3 years. And the day that I knew that he owned himself, he called me, he says, and he says, this latest client, there's a guy from Taiwan. And he called him and says, I'd like you to come and speak to my staff and give them a 4-hour lecture on health. He says, it's first class ticket and, $10,000. I said, listen, it's only a short flight, all right? Let me pay you business class and I'll pay you $5,000, but you can use my resort for a couple of days. Now, for a lot of people who were chasing money, that would have been a reasonable deal. Especially if you come from $50 an hour.
Cool.
You're getting $5,000, business class, couple of days in a nice resort. Tony's like, no, I'm a first class ticket. I'm $10,000 an hour. And he goes, it's only a short flight, first class, business class, pretty much the same. And bring your girlfriend, whatever, use my resort as my guest, $5,000 cash in your hand. And the day that I knew Tony owned himself was when he said, he says, Pete, I said, you know something? For a rich guy, you're pretty cheap. And he hung up. What happened? Right? Well, he was willing to fire clients and turn down stuff that didn't match his frequency. You want to go listen to $5,000 radio? I'm broadcasting on $10,000 radio. I don't need you. And that is a huge step up. When an agent needs commission, he's only going to get crappy clients. Right? She's only going to get crappy clients. So instead, what happens? The guy calls back. Okay, it's $10,000, it's a first class ticket, and come at my resort for several days, bring your girlfriend, expenses my guest. Because he respected that. Because that's where it's at. And so many people, when you come through our event, we work more on that. How do we get you broadcasting at a different radio frequency? Because you ain't going to learn that in a real estate handbook. You're not going to learn that at school. You're not going to learn that in a personal development seminar that's going to teach you how to set goals. Different game.
No, it's great. It's great. And I think what we, when we spoke briefly before, I was fascinated by the fact that in your EMF program, you recommended The One Thing by Gary Keller, but you didn't really know Gary Keller or the Keller Williams model. You just really loved the book and you recommended that book. And that's kind of what gave me a bit of an aha moment that you were going to be a good fit for what we wanted to do. I, in my head, thought, you must know Gary Keller. Through your Tony Robbins, you must be aware of what all that was about. But clearly you didn't. You just saw that book as a standalone, you know, a great opportunity to learn from that book. And I think this is where that kind of understanding for certain real estate agents that want to learn more and bring to the table more techniques and more mindset kind of ways of working to maximize their results, it comes down to this kind of teachings. And I think when we've got young agents that are a bit wet behind the ear, they don't quite know, I think you can really add value to how they can be a lot more purposeful. Yes, we want them to be honest and transparent. We want them to be authentic, and that should be part of what we try and give them. But giving them some techniques to actually deliver will be great as well. So it was a nice thing that you didn't really have that close connection with the one thing author. So it's a nice kind of backstory.
The synergy.
Yeah, it's a synergy that was nice. Yeah.
And what I loved about the book as well is that, you know, it teaches you how to focus and how to ask better questions. You know, what is the one thing that, subject to doing, would making everything else either easier or unnecessary? Yeah. Great business question. Yeah. For the average busy being broke entrepreneur trying to struggle. Yeah. Because focus is, you know, where you put your mind. And if one thing people want to tattoo on the inside of their eyelids is, if you cannot master your mind, you will never master your life. So why not work on that? Because people know what to do a lot of the time, they just don't do what they know. Teaching strategies is easy, but teaching how you to be able to step up. As I was saying, you know, before, people will never rise above the opinion of themselves. So how do you raise that level of self-esteem so that that can shine forward? You take somebody who's a needy guy and you put him through a process where he now owns himself. He doesn't need a girl, right? Why? He's in love with himself at a point where he hasn't got any insecurities right now. That's a pretty good catch.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that's the person that women most want to be with. So instead of focusing on how do I sell my next deal, why not instead focus on who do I need to become that my ideal client would most want to trust? Better questions, better focus. And that's why I like the book.
No, it's great. It's great. And I think there's a lot to bring to the table in this event. And what we can do after the event as well is, you know, I want this event to just be a snapshot really of what we can try and offer people. And I think, you know, with the agents that I'm aware of that are very successful as well, in terms of monetary successful, but a lot of them have something missing still in their life. And I think I would like the event to be all-encompassing as much as possible to anyone that's interested in real estate or just general life experiences in what they're doing in their own careers, to have some kind of, you know, toolkit to try and improve their understanding of money's not everything. And so we've got people that I've worked with over the years that, I want to make hundreds of thousands, I'll do this and I'll do that, and they achieve it. But you can see that there's something missing. And to open a door for that new purpose to flood in, to give them that overall happiness, will be great for them to tap into as well. And I'm sure you can probably do something on that basis as well, right?
Well, it took me a long while to learn, certainly in my 20s, where, again, I was financially successful at a young age. I was buying Ferraris for cash and flying Concorde and was very empty inside. And that's when I realized that there is a huge difference between a life-chasing success and a life-chasing fulfillment. And ultimately, we live our life through emotion. We experience through emotion. And if your emotions are unfulfilled, doesn't matter how much money you got in the bank. All right, we sometimes hear the same thing about relationships. If wifey ain't happy, you ain't happy. Right, and I've worked with people in corporations that are ultimately very, very successful. If their home life's in the toilet, they don't care. It doesn't care what's in the bank. Right, they're unfulfilled, they're unhappy. And if you spend all your time buying into a premise that the more money I get, the more certain I feel, the more significant I feel, the more happy I feel, and you elbow your way to the top of Success Mountain, you're going to want to jump off because you ain't going to like the view. And you see that a lot. Yeah, and you see what I call people in buy me mode, achiever mode. And if it's going to happen, it'll happen. Buy me. And they elbow their way up there. They miss their daughter's recital. They sacrifice their health. They haven't got time for this. Sleep when I'm dead. All the war cry of bullshit. And they finally understand that they go from stressed out Simon to burnt out Barry to heart attack Harry or suicidal friggin' Steve. And it isn't a place you want to go.
Yeah.
There's a way to be able to create abundance in your life, but what is abundance? You've got time abundance, you've got health abundance, you've got financial abundance, you've got joy, abundance of relationships. What do you want to follow? You want to sacrifice every other form of abundance so you can sit there lonely with more money? Wondering why your health is gone? Well, one of my mentors, he's passed away now, multi-billionaire, plutocrat in every sense of the word, sold his last business for $3.6 billion in cash. I was very lucky to live with the guy a couple of times. We started a few businesses together. And I never knew him earn less than about $1 million a day. Yeah. Now I know what you're thinking. Yeah, you can't live on it, but it's a good start. Right? The most unhealthiest, angriest, tight-fisted, what an example of who I'd never want to be with money. Everything at his fingertips financially, zero quality of life. Estranged from his daughter. It's like why? He would have given all of his money back with his dying breath in order to get the kind of life that I live without that level of billions. And it's not just because I'm financially successful now. I know what it's like to be hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and smile because I'm grateful to be here. Right? There's a different relationship to abundance. And when you have that level, abundance will come back, as it has, as it will. So being able to understand that if you're chasing what you think is success and you're benchmarking that against financial abundance just because you've been taught that that's the benchmark, come see me when you're stressed because you're running east looking for a sunset and you're blaming your shoes. All right, if I got better trainers, then I'll see my sunset. I had a better diet, better personal trainer. If I worked harder, if I got the best deal, if I just get this goal, then I'll finally see my sunset. I'll finally feel fulfilled. You're running east. All right, let us teach you how to at least face the right way.
Yeah, it's something that I think through my journey of over the years, I was always told the comment, money doesn't grow on trees, so you had that scarcity thing. And then when you do have money, this ego comes up and this arrogance comes up. And I think certainly over the last 5 or 10 years, with some of your teachings and Awaken Potentials, as well as my own personal development, I've learned how to deal with that. But it would be great to offer this to the 20-year-olds that are just starting out, that, as you said earlier, you don't learn this in school. So to be able to say to these people, come on, go down this path, by not having it, this is what you need to do to be successful. But when you are successful, don't let your ego run away with you. The more you earn, the more humble you should become. Someone said that to me and that resonated with me. And that's not an easy thing to do, but if you can master that, that's pretty powerful as well, right? So I think if we can come up with this kind of event that tries to cater for different people and their needs and what the normal trappings are for when you're trying to find money and the bad habits you can get into to try and find it, especially as a real estate agent, and then the bad trappings you get into once you've got it, if we can try and manage, those two elements for people, I'm sure that's going to be really valuable for people that are going to be there and listening online.
Mismanaged imagination is really what the key is here. And that comes from everything from childhood beliefs to the fear that you're not enough, to knowing what to do but not doing what you know, that not having clarity around your value structure, because when you're under stress, you'll default to what's protective, and if that means misrepresenting or if that means cutting corners. So there's a whole thing that goes around with that, and in one day we can pretty much rebuild people's psychology around how to walk out of that just after a day as a completely different person, because your sense of self governs everything. If Richard Branson lost everything tomorrow, how long do you think it would take him to be a millionaire again?
Probably not long.
Why?
Not long.
Because it's who he is.
Yeah.
It's his relationship to money. It's normal for him. So he would attract opportunities to be able to do that again. Most people, scarcity is normal. So they attract opportunities to stay scarce. So how do you shift that? Is it possible to shift it? Yes. If you know the process, if you understand. I've spent 30 years understanding human behavior. I've taken people like Tony from $50 an hour to $5,000 an hour, which is what he then went to, by the way. right? 100 grand for 20 sessions, right? And who is his client? Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, right? You've got hangs out with The Rock, right? Cristiano Ronaldo, from nothing, from nobody knowing who he was, because he changed his vibration. How do you, if I turn up your frequency on your radio, from radio anxious to radio abundant, there's no more songs playing that you used to listen to, right? It's an internal world first, which is why outer world follows inner world. And too many people are listening to radio scarcity, running around in the outer world trying to find abundant songs and wondering why it never happens. So can we make a massive shift in one day? You're damn right we can. I've seen it done shorter than that, but for a whole day, if they commit, you got to do your side. You got to lift the weights. I'll bring the strength.
No, that would be amazing. I mean, it sounds ambitious, but I know you can do that, so it's great.
I spent my life doing that, and you've just gone through some of the work that I've done, and you see how powerful it is and how fast people can change if you give them the right tools and environment.
Exactly, and I think if and being in the work environment that kind of echoes that on a day-to-day basis as well. So after the event, if we get a lot of people saying, we're interested in more, we want to know more about what you do for work or what other modules Peter can offer, what Awaken Potential can do, it's hopefully will be a snowball effect for more learning, more abundance and more smiling faces around, right? So I'm really excited about what we can do there. And I think with the kind of general overview on what we can do, we've covered sort of people that have got money and they're successful but maybe not have the purpose. We've covered a little bit of where people might want to start or they've just started and they need a bit of direction and make sure they're doing things in an honest, transparent and authentic way for themselves mainly, because then it just transmits after, right, to everybody else. And I think, but what you've also taught in your Millionaire Business School is where you can start a business with nothing, right? So I'd like to elaborate a little bit on that, because that's kind of the Keller Williams model as well, is being self-employed and having your being in charge of your destiny without actually really having the big budget that you need. And it is a little bit different in Cyprus because we've got license regulations. We can't quite do it like that. But for the people that will be listening online, especially in Greece and hopefully in the UK, it's very relevant for them where, you don't need a lot of money to start and be a self-employed business person with Keller Williams. And I think you could probably add a lot of value to that because you've done this yourself. So yes, we've got some tools and systems that will support them, but I've got a funny feeling you can add some significant value for them being a self-employed state. Because I think when we've seen people, like when I've been to the US and seen a lot of people and to Greece and see the people that are doing it, there's a lot of fear about being self-employed and leaving a job to then do something different. And it might not cost a lot of money, but they've still got their bills to pay, their rent to pay, their mortgage to pay. So how do you go from, okay, I might not need 20 or 30,000 starting capital, I might not need to have 5,000 month expenses, but I still need to live. How do I do that? How do I do that? So I think helping with that kind of thing will be an amazing sort of tool for people as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I dropped out of school at 16. I've got no formal qualifications. Started my first business at 17, 20 plus international businesses since then. But business is something I know about. Yeah, and having learned some of the hard lessons of outright failure, having fallen down a few potholes and got a lot of battle scars. But I built enough 6, 7, and 8-figure companies globally to understand the ins and outs of the entrepreneurial life, and especially the startup, and especially the psychological aspects that are required to have a successful startup, rather than continually waking up and staying up, fear at the middle of the night, wondering if it's going to happen. So absolutely, I can add value to that, because there are a lot of things when you shift your thinking that can essentially show you how to create value without needing or spending money. And I call it financial creativity. We're not talking about how to get your accountant to do magic with the books. I'm talking about how do you bypass the requirement for money altogether. And what's great about this, I mean, back when I was doing businesses in my 20s, you needed about $1 million in CapEx, capital expenditure, to have a 20-year lease on a building and custom-written software infrastructure that constantly required maintenance and mainframes and all this kind of stuff. Now, the barrier to entry on being able to be financially independent, which means you're independent of a job that has the potential for unlimited levels of earnings compared to a job, is there's never been a time in history that's more exciting. You can get, right now, working from home with a Zoom account or a mobile phone or a laptop or an iPad, and software that costs you $6.99 a month on an app store. You can run an international-based business that can pay you and your family tremendously well without having to work 9 to 5 silly days a week and get 4 weeks paltry holiday a year. It's like we're living in such an exciting time. And if you don't move forward now, you're going to struggle. And obviously AI is coming in. That's going to be replacing a lot of stuff. But people aren't going to buy their houses with AI because there is still, when you're talking about your most precious asset, the biggest asset most people will ever own in their life, you want to be able to trust somebody you can look in the eyes to, not look on a data stream for.
Exactly,
So it's one of those industries that if you learn how to do it well, AI can augment and complement you to be more efficient, more effective, leverage more, do the stuff that you shouldn't be doing so that you can do the stuff it can never do, which is that heart-to-heart, human-to-human relationship that you master that, you've got no competition.
No, great. I don't really have much else to mention, really. I'd like to be able to book you in again a little bit nearer once we've got the date confirmed and we've got a little bit of momentum going on how we're going to sort of schedule the day and what we're going to be, sort of what your teachings are going to be and how we're going to do it. It'd be great to have another follow-up chat just to be able to crystallise it a little bit more, if that's okay with you, in a few months.
I know we're looking at multiple dates for beginning of second quarter for 2020. 6 right now, but I'm sure once we've sorted that out, that'll appear on the screen or underneath the video, and people can go and see if they want to participate either in person, which would be great, or even on live stream. And I will say that if you're going to be investing one day in your entire future, that's a pretty good investment for what it can return. You learn how to turn your dial just a little bit higher on the abundance scale, for one day's worth of effort that's going to happen anyway, then what else are you going to do? Watch Netflix? Give me a break.
Yeah, exactly. Peter, thank you very much, mate.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All good. Cheers. Thank you.